In this video, we're going to look at two new templates for the Canvas starter site. This is going to be homepage style 4, both in light and dark mode. You can grab these from the MyListing Club website by going to mylisting.club and going under the navigation menu under resources, and then go into Elementor Templates, and you can grab the templates right here as shown on my screen. All right, let's go ahead and dive in. First up, we're going to look at the light mode version, which you see here. If you've been following along with any of the videos for Canvas, you'll know that we are using placeholder images as both an educational tool and just to be unopinionated in the design. So when you see these placeholder images throughout the site, like you see here on these CTAs and whatnot, you can look in the back end of Canvas. So if we go to the media library, go to the homepage folder, you will then see the corresponding image for the element. It's named accordingly, and it also has the image file size dimensions in there. So you know the exact dimensions of the image to place in the various sections here. Okay. The other thing I want to mention is looking over here in the navigator, the Elementor navigator, you'll see that each section is properly named, which is then corresponds to the image names as well. So section 1, for example, is identified right here in section 1, and section 2 here, and so on and so forth. So this particular style was influenced from the Vow starter site, which is being decommissioned actually this weekend. It's been up there for years, and the old starter sites are being decommissioned, and everything is being modernized and rolled into the Canvas starter site. So I took the Vow homepage, made some changes, modernized it so it is built with best practices for Elementor for performance and design, and that's what we are looking at here. Okay. This right here, this basic search form, we're going to show you this on the front end, so it actually has the styling applied, because Elementor doesn't render the design changes for the MyListing basic search forms in the back end, because CSS is needed to style those. Okay, but we'll look at that here in a second. Moving on down through here, we'll go pretty quickly. We see a listing feed carousel. So if you're familiar with MyListing at all, you can just edit this listing feed carousel, and then you can decide which listing types you want to show. If you want to do an autoplay on the carousel, all sorts of options you can configure here in the side panel. Okay, moving on down, we have a CTA section, and then we have another listing feed section. I chose a different listing type for this area just so you can see the difference. And then obviously you can scroll to the side, left and right. Moving on down, we have another CTA section just to break things up a bit and give you some options. This page is going to be very image heavy if you follow it exactly as I've got it outlined here. So you may want to strip out some of these CTA sections and do different things, but I'm giving you a bunch of options out of the box to play with. As long as you're lazy loading your images and you're doing performance optimization, you got quality hosting and all that sort of thing, it's not a problem if you were just to put images in all of this stuff. But I just wanted to point that out. This is a very image heavy design. Section 5 here, I switched this up a bit. Instead of doing a listing feed, I thought it'd be fun to throw in a kind of like a slider right here. So this is automated. So it's going to autoplay through if I don't hover over it, or the user doesn't hover over it, it's going to autoplay through these various slides. Okay. Once you throw an image on there, that's going to look really beautiful. So you just have to imagine an image being on there. We have another CTA section here. And then lastly, we have a testimonial section of a carousel slider there. Okay, let's go ahead and check mobile responsiveness, and then we'll look at the dark mode version, as well as look at this template on the front end, so you can see that basic search form, how the design really jumps off the screen. Okay, everything looks good here on mobile. The listing feeds are a little challenging on tablet, just because of the way that MyListing builds them. It just kind of is the way that it is. You'd have to throw quite a bit of customization at it, but I mean, it works just fine, as you can see here. Typically on a tablet, people are just going to swipe, so it's a bit hard to show here on like a web browser. All right, everything looks good here. Everything looks good there. Looks good, looks good, looks good. All right, let's check mobile phone, and then we'll get over to the front end. Okay, everything looks good there. And again, like once you do whatever it is that you're going to do with your images and stuff, it's going to look a bit different. So just kind of is what it is there. But you can see this swiping through. We've got a button that appears only on mobile, which is going to, whereas on desktop, if we go back to desktop, we see that the CTA button is over here at the left. So on mobile, we've moved that down here to the bottom. So it's like the call to action on mobile. So they, the idea here is they read through this section, they kind of look through some of these listing fee, these listings and whatnot, and then, do the CTA action. Okay. Obviously, if you're looking at this and you're saying, well, that doesn't look that great. Like I said, that's your design is going to look totally different. I would design this differently myself. If this was a real world website, that transparency would not be there and it would overlap with a solid color. But I can't account for every single thing that somebody's going to do with their designs. But as far as the layout goes, it is ready to go. But you could, if you wanted, if you didn't want that overlap, you could just move this down a little bit. Okay, everything looks good here in the CTA section. Everything looks good there. Looks good, looks good. Looks good, looks good. Okay, cool. So that looks fine. Let's look at this on the front end now. And you'll notice out of the box that this looks good. Like this looks like a lot of the MyListing websites. This is what you're used to seeing. Okay. And your basic form is going to look different as far as the fields and everything once you configure your listing types however you want in terms of the basic search form. Okay. This is just how this is, the site's laid out by default. But as you'll notice here, this design is the standard if you look at a MyListing website. But now what we're going to do is we're going to jump in the back end and we're going to apply an optional code snippet. So we go into WP code box, and you can do this with any code snippet plugin or however it is that you add CSS to your website. We're going to jump down here to optional CSS light mode, and we're just going to toggle on this CSS package. If we look at the conditions builder, this is one of the powerhouse reasons to use WP code box is the conditions builder. We are saying here that apply this CSS package if the URL contains light mode. And that's, for my purposes, it just makes it a lot easier as I go through and create all these templates and stuff for everybody. On your website, you might just say, hey, if this is the homepage, apply it, right? It's just a lot of different ways to do it. And my dogs are barking, so I apologize. But now that we have that toggled on, it's going to apply to any light mode template that has a basic search form. Okay, so now let's go ahead and refresh. There you go. Now you can see this is modernized and it is ready to go. Okay, so real important piece, WP code box allows you to conditionally add CSS wherever you want. You could actually take all of this CSS if you wanted and drop it right here into the widget, but I don't recommend you do that. I recommend you use something like WP code box or similar that allows you to conditionally allow CSS so it doesn't slow down your website. That apply it only where it needs to apply. Okay, so that's light mode. Dark mode's the same thing. As you'll notice in my videos, I say that a lot. It's the same thing, just looks different. And we'll look at this on the front end, but we'll go through really fast here. It's the exact same layout, just all of the elements have been switched over. Let's just skip right to mobile. Actually, let's go back. I think I skipped desktop. So there's desktop. There we go. So that looks cool. That looks cool. Everything looks cool. Let's go to mobile phone. Just breeze through this really fast. Yep, all looks good. And you just have to imagine that, visualize the images being in here. It looks really, really good. Once you get images in here, you just have to use your imagination and trust that it's going to look great once you get an image in there. Okay, let's go ahead and look at this on the front end. You'll notice that this design looks fine. I mean, it looks pretty good, but let's modernize this. I'll go ahead and duplicate this page just for fun. WP code box. This time we're going to go into the optional CSS dark mode folder. We're going to toggle on the dark mode version. Okay. Now, if we look at the conditions for this CSS package, it applies to any of my templates that have the words dark mode in the URL. Okay, so now if we refresh this, there we go. We are before and after. Before, after. Everything's modernized. Looks good. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed this video, and be sure to check out the Canvas build notes. So if you go to the MyListing Club website, find the Canvas starter site under starter sites and check out the build notes section where I document how all of this stuff is built. So you can try to replicate it yourself or just understand how all of this is done and make any adjustments and so on and so forth. Catch you guys in the next video.